Right off the bat, I want to clarify that when I say coming out, I do not mean about my sexuality. I've been openly lesbian for quite some time now. I actually mean about my gender identity, although it's kind of recent and I'm not 100% certain about it, so just bear with me here. So, I've been cisgender for pretty much my entire life and didn't really have a reason to suspect that I was anything different for the longest time. Only this year did doubts really start to kick in. And for a while, I was like, what is causing this? I've been cis my entire life. What changed? And one of my friends was like, it's because of all the people you spend your time with have all sorts of gender identities. We're converting you. And we thought it was funny. It also doesn't really help that one of my friends said I was close enough to a boy, probably in a joking manner, probably, and that definitely didn't help my crisis at the time. But then again, the person in question does not get to talk. He once wore pink eyeshadow. Wasn't to his will, but he wore it, and it suited him. Then again, I'm not really helping my own case, considering some of the random bullcrap I've said. A good example of this was the time I was at a table with a friend who once wore pink eyeshadow and other people he knew, and I wasn't paying attention at the moment, and I just randomly hear said friend go, "Listen to your father," in that type of voice, and I was very confused and just go, "Who at this table is whose father?" And he just goes, "You'll never know." And I don't know what possessed me to say this, but my response was, "Plot twist, I'm your father." And he said, "Wait, how does that work? I thought you were a woman." And I just responded with, "Think again." Like I said, I have no idea why I chose to respond like that, but yeah, it's not helping anything. I've also found myself being uncomfortable with certain gender terms, even ones referring to people of my own gender, such as a good example of this being the term lady. I've always disliked that term, and anytime I'm called as such, it feels wrong to me. Then at some point, I tried experimenting with making myself look more masculine, which is really tricky because I'm generally more feminine in terms of appearance, and it's kind of hard to cover that up. But thankfully, I was able to throw together an outfit that made me look at least less feminine than I usually look, which, at least for now, is the most I can hope for. The outfit in question is actually the one being drawn here. And I actually found myself enjoying dressing like that quite a bit more than I thought I would, which I know it doesn't say all it needs to. I've been trying to experiment with other pronouns, but it's kind of hard when you haven't really had anyone use any other pronouns, especially because I've kind of been keeping this whole crisis under wraps. Like, my friends know about it, but that's about it. I did consider being she, they at some point and just leaving it at that, but I found myself not caring as much for the idea on some days while preferring it on other days. And some days I'd just be far too tired to care about my pronouns, so there's always that. At first, I actually denied the idea of being gender fluid because I never really felt masculine before, and it just never really seemed like a viable option for me. But like I said earlier, I've been trying to experiment more recently with different pronouns slash approaches and stuff like that because I've been a lot more uncertain about myself recently. And the more I experiment, the more this identity feels right to me. And the idea of not having to commit to a specific gender identity and being able to change it depending on how I feel on different days sticks out a lot in my mind. And despite all the uncertainty recently, I've been starting to feel more comfortable saying I'm gender fluid because the more I think about it, the more I think this really is who I am. So, at least for the time being, I'd like to officially come out as gender fluid. If you stayed this long, I appreciate you listening to me. And I'll see you all later, hopefully.